Hi, everybody. Welcome to Boulton from Boulton, the show where my brother Josh and I set each other up for lively hockey talk. So, of course, everybody's talking about the Tim Peel hot mic incident. And then, of course, what it's done is led to a broader discussion. And Josh and I are here to have this discussion. So, Josh, now you brought it up. You took it up on your Tough Call podcast. I just listened to that. It's another great episode, folks. Get out on Tough Call already if you're not on there and see what's going on, especially if you care about player safety and head injuries and all that stuff. Josh is cleaning that up. So, but you did mention a bit of Tim Peel there at the beginning. But obviously we can flesh it out a bit more here, and I've certainly got something to say on it. So, give me Tim Peel first of all, or not Tim Peel, but the broader issue that we're talking about.
Well, here's the part of the problem is you can't focus on too many things individually because so many things happen player safety wise in the NHL every night. And that's part of the problem. If I miss one night, I get behind like 4 or 5 incidents. It's just out of control. So this whole Tim Peel incident is just a fabric of the general philosophy of the NHL to let things go as long as possible, to keep the players as angry as possible. So the fact that Tim Peel was caught on a hot mic saying, "Oh, I'm going to make this call just because I feel like it," or whatever, however you want to interpret it. And then he gets fired, or not even fired, but just relieved of his duties, however you want to word it. And again, it doesn't even matter because it's not going to accomplish anything. They could call it whatever they want. They can give him a paid vacation. Nobody's going to care because everyone's talking about it now. And in 3 days, nobody will be talking about it. Nothing will be done. Something else is going to happen major in the NHL. There's probably 3 headshots tonight. I haven't seen any games. There's probably a checking from behind. And people are going to be talking about the next big thing. And they're going to pretend to be mad about it for 3 minutes. And then we're going to move on. And next week, no one will be talking about it.
That's what I took too from when I heard you put something like that on Tough Call. I immediately thought, well, yeah, people can talk about, oh, we're so against this. And people love to say that they're outraged about stuff, but they never have anything to replace it with, nothing positive to replace the thing that they don't like. They don't have a consistent agenda to put forth, right? So, and that's what I heard in that thing. It's like, it's not going to do anything, right? That they're saying, oh, look at us. Well, what is your standard now? What is your consistent what are your principles? So
they acted so quickly in letting this one official isn't good. Now you have to announce, okay, we're going to have an officials meeting this year. We're going to do investigations. We're going to have one-on-one chats with officials. None of that's going to happen. I mean, not even, maybe it's going to happen internally, but I really doubt it because everyone knows this happens. It's not the first time it's been thought of to happen. It's not like this is a brand new idea. It's been something that everyone knows has been happening all along, and somebody just happened to be caught saying it out loud. And they're all of a sudden the victim when they didn't do anything different than everyone else. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying all officials are corrupt. I'm not saying they're all bad. There's a lot of messages from the NHL that tell them to call the game that way. So that's the other part of the problem is making this guy a scapegoat, and you're just looking to satisfy the mob. You want to satisfy that original mob, get them out of the way, quiet it down, and they all get swept away, and then it's business as normal. It's all flashes and, razzle dazzle over here. But meanwhile, the main problem isn't even dealt with.
Mm-hmm. Okay, well, let me try to take it on like this. So we'll get more specific on Tim Peel in a minute, but let's go back to this broader issue, this idea like of people talking about makeup calls and all that, and should we have such a thing? And people are like, well, yeah, it exists. Everybody knows, we expect it, and blah, blah, blah. Now, I want to start off to say that what is the referee's job? It is before even that, it's what is a penalty all about? Why are they calling penalties? This is to compensate for a loss. And what does compensate mean? It means to make up for a loss. So we are making up stuff, right? There's an injustice, right? So again, I think their job is broadly defined as justice. They want to keep the game fair. So that's their job. So fairness. So if somebody gets an unfair advantage by doing something illegal, the team suffers a loss. We have to compensate that team. The guy who sits in the box, they get a power play to make up for their loss, right? So we got that. We understand that, no problem. Now, what happens? A missed call is also somewhat of an injustice. The game is not fair anymore. It's not a level playing field anymore. This team has suffered an unfair injustice or something that's not, again, level. So we do want to make it up to them. Now, it's a lot different in that the other team hasn't done anything. You don't want to penalize them. And I'm not saying, you penalize another team. I think I got reminded of Louis C.K. right away when he was talking about his daughters, and he's like, one of them broke their toy, and then she demanded that she break the other daughter's toy. And I did. And then he talked about how he felt, how confused he felt about it. But like, nothing like that at all. But what I'm saying is, we do now, the referee has in his mind, wants to think about, how can I now make it up to them? Right. So in that way, my mistake, without necessarily attacking the other team. And now it doesn't mean now I want to miss a call, so something happens to them and then I let it go. But I'm thinking more now, I want to maybe think about something where I'd be like on the edge of like 50-50. I might like say, hey, watch that one now, and build up a few of those over time. Some kind of thing like that, where I'm trying to say, and then at one point, I say, I feel I've made it up. It's fair again. Like, they haven't suffered too much of a lopsided injustice because of my thing. Now, what I'm not saying, because I know people are going to be calling in. Well, we don't have call in, but I can see them getting pumped up. Maybe they get on the chat and tell, what is this? It's not about making up as in, oh, I've called too many penalties on these guys, so I got to kind of work it out or somehow make it up, either calling more penalties on the other team or whatever. Again, you're not prepared. The other team comes out flying, and then you're just that's all even up. That's all. You're just given penalties for unfair advantages the other team has gained by taking penalties, by doing something illegal, right? That's their problem. That's not on you. But if you see what I'm saying with the suffering the unjust something by my thing, so my mistake. Now, what I mean is this. So it sounds pretty, I don't know what it sounds like to anybody at the moment. I don't even know what it sounds like to myself. I'm all lost in my head here. But again, I want to analogize this to like real law, right? So what we have is, we want the rule book to be consistent. We want the laws to be absolute, clearly defined, so that we know what to do. But yet, a judge, why do we even have a judge in real life, right? Because you have to interpret the rules. You have to apply all the context and everything that goes on in every situation to dish out the sentencing, which would be, penalizing people in this case, right? And there is a lot of stuff where you kind of go, it's not clear, like that's clearly, it's easy, it's a trip or it's not, or it's a cross check or it's not. It's like, no, it's not. There's a lot of things going on and that you have to balance and judge. You have the rules as principles to guide you, but applications of principles in life and in sports and in sentencing, in sport, it's all very complicated, right? And everybody said that, right? Now, I remember when I first thought of this issue, Josh, I remembered about in like 2003, I remember I wrote this a long essay for myself. Like, I didn't have anywhere to publish it or anything. I just was like, was inspired to write this thing I called it Objectivity in Sport. And I don't know where it is. I can't find a file of it. I think I have a hard copy of it. Who cares? I'll find it someday. But I remember the gist of it, and I feel like I sounded a lot like that guy. Was it Frank Saravelli or something on TSN? He's the guy, he's got like the really white hair, but otherwise looks younger than us. And he wears the suit and he's got the Gretzky Jofa behind him, that guy. Yeah, like he was in there kind of going, we want to call the same from the beginning to the end, to the mid, whatever time, whatever where. And I'm on board with that in as far as that goes. But yet I would talk back to him and to that 2003 me and ask for some qualification and say, well, are you just thinking that that's going to solve everything if we have that? So on Tough Call, you talk a lot about we need consistency, clearly defined rules. Players don't know what's going on. The whole league doesn't know what's going on, managers and coaches and all that. And I agree with that. That's what I think laws have to be clearly defined and absolute. But then there is all kinds of stuff on top of that you have to work out. So many considerations. So I guess, yeah, I want to allow them to exercise their judgment. And there is so much of that. So I don't know, you have to give me something back to see, so I can sort myself out here and see what I missed. But
well, there's humans. They're human. I couldn't ref. I tell you, I had to substitute once. I refed one time. It was for our sister's women's rec league game. And the first incident that happened, I told him, look, I don't ref. I'm just here to make sure nothing bad happens, to say you had a ref so the game will count. Don't expect a whole lot from me. Do me a favor. Don't do anything stupid, whatever, right? Mm-hmm. Anyway, I'm talking like the only person on the ice, barely knew where to stand on what side for the face-off and stuff when I'm dropping the puck. Like I know nothing. Mm-hmm. So when the first thing happened, I remember thinking, "Ooh, that was close. I wonder if they're going to call that." And then it took me a few seconds to go, "Wait, that's me. I'm supposed to call it." Like I really had that thought. Yeah. And then something too late to call that. I mean, it wasn't bad, but I was like, that was interesting. Let's see how that goes. Oh yeah, that's my job. And then something else happened, and I remember like literally going, "Okay, what just happened? Was that a stick? Was that a foot? What happened? Did it knock the person down? Did it take?" And I'm thinking the whole time, seconds are ticking by. And I'm like, was that really enough to call? What would I call it? Was it a trip or a roughing? Did it affect and I'm thinking like, okay, it's so many things have happened now. The play is completely gone. There's no way I could possibly call it that. Like just so many choices to have to go through my mind. So I'm not saying that I could officiate a game. Mm-hmm. And I apologize to all the officials I've ever talked to at any moment in any game, right? I do. But what I did know was that I was willing to call things no matter who it was on, no matter how many penalties each team had, no matter what the score was of the game. I was looking for infractions. I'm not trying to invent them. I'm not trying to even things up. I mean, so many things happen. Like people talk about makeup calls and they're trying to even them out. Oh, this team had 4 power plays, so I'm gonna give the other team one. You don't have to, because I mean, look around. There's an infraction all the time, right? You can call a lot of penalties. You do have to gauge and pick and choose how much did it really affect the play? Was the person trying to do a hockey play, or were they just doing the thing just for the sake of taking someone out? There are contexts, and people talk about the temperature of the game. Those are things that you do want to take into account. I get it. That's why you need that human element and that understanding. But it has to be based on, like we said, it has to be based on a solid, understood, clearly defined principle. And everyone talks about, oh, well, this game, this official is going to choose to call it this way, and next game it's going to be called a different way. And I don't think that's good either. I think it should be league-wide. It should be the whole standard for the whole league. Every official should try and maintain the same quality. You don't say, oh, well, I got this ref, so it's going to be a little bit of a chippy one, or I got this one, so it's a penalty box parade. Nobody wants to go into a game thinking it's going to be different game to game. It's got to be. I mean, it's going to be different game to game, but not in the sense that just because of who's officiating or that. Yes. It has to be different game to game because of how the game is going, the feeling of the game. But other than that, it should be clear and concise. I think that's what you're trying to say.
Yes, and I'm hearing it. That every game is different. There's a different temperature. It's a playoff game, or it's these teams, or it's a different day. People are just on or off. There's a different energy in everything. And then all of those things that you said, like that, those considerations that you acted out there, that's what the referee has to balance throughout the game, and has to keep fair on both sides. And if he finds himself missing too many of the ones where he said, oh, what is that? How was that? And then I let it go a certain way, too many times one way. Well, he has to kind of try to balance that out. And that's what I'm saying. So there is a way where you go, I kind of want to even up or make up with something for this team. Like you have a kind of thing, but you're not looking to call something on somebody. That's not what you're doing. And as you said too, about the penalties, again, I said clearly, I'm not about making up penalties because I called too many one way. I am not about equal opportunity here, right? I'm about equality before the law, right? But there is that other element that we're saying as far as things come, like every case, every crime in real life too isn't the same. Every, theft or every murder is not the same. They come in and there's a lot of circumstances surrounding it in a different temperature, if you will. And the judge has to sort out, like, what are the circumstances? It doesn't, not just clear because this happened that this is the penalty, right? And this is what I should do. So I feel like, yeah. So, I mean, I don't know if I've actually expressed it all, but I wonder how to apply it here to the Tim Peel thing. Right. I don't even know what happened. Do you know, to be honest, was he coming in and saying, before I showed up in the game, I kind of felt like I wanted to give Nashville a penalty early just because they're kind of these guys and I want to let them know early. Like I was looking to see if I could give them a message early. Like, is that what he came in with? Was he doing more of what I said, where he kind of like, look, I was looking to make something up?
Honestly, you hear the clip. It's not even a complete sentence. Like there's interpretations there too. That was what shocked me about how quickly the NHL made a decision. Like, because really, what's the context here? And you have a Duchesne saying, well, he was talking to Philip Forsberg in that moment. So are you telling Philip Forsberg himself you wanted to call a penalty on Nashville? Like, that's a weird thing to say to that player. It is strange, but how does it relate to what was said before and after? Because that just seems really, seems really dumb, to be honest. To say that, right? But, and so what does he look, why is he looking to make that call against Nashville? You should never be looking to make a call against the team, in that clear of a sense. Yeah. And also, you shouldn't have memories either. You shouldn't remember what happened. Oh, that player. You shouldn't be telling a player like, I have a long memory, buddy. Next time I ref you, I'm going to be all over you, watching you. And the second you get out of line, you're going to the box. Like, I can't. Some people are going to argue against me with that. There's always these yahoos, and the second they get out of hand, you got to send a message and get them in the box and let them cool down. But really, if you call the rules consistently all the time, that's going to happen naturally anyway. You don't need to take it upon yourself to do it the first one or two shifts of a game because that player was allowed to run around the game before. You shouldn't know that. You should just go into the game fresh.
Yeah, and that's another one. You see the refs too. This is another part of keeping it together. There's things beyond penalizing. They communicate a lot. You hear them all the time. They're in there like, oh, take it easy. Well, watch that. That's almost a hook. Watch those sticks, boys, and all that. You hear them do that kind of thing, and they're just letting guys know. They're trying to let the guys play. They're trying to keep it fair, right? And they're trying to just make it so that people we get the best product. It's like mano v. What is the mano on mano? It is not even an expression at all.
Mano. Well, there's your expression. You just said, let the players play, right? Yeah. And the referee don't want to decide the game. But guess what, big fella? If you don't call it, you're deciding the game. You're deciding, I'm going to allow this team to be unfairly advantageous and do things that they shouldn't be allowed to do because I want to let you play. No, you're deciding the game either way, whether you call it or not. So make the call.
Yes. I don't know if what you interpret what I said did not make calls. I'm saying that you want to let them play to the extent, that it's fair. Like, that's all I'm saying. Right. So you keep it fair. You keep it just. That's the key. It's the Justice League up in here. But that includes a lot of things, how you can tell people and communicate a lot about and kind of try to control the temperature, let the temperature be the excitement, but yet also control we don't want crimes. We don't want people committing crimes in life. We don't want people committing crimes, illegal acts in sport and getting unfair advantages.
We have John Tavares coming in and saying, do we really want a face-off violation called in the last 10 minutes of a third period game? And I'm thinking, well, yeah, because if you want to have a good shot, a legal chance, a fair chance of winning that face-off, then you want the violations called if someone cheats. Why would you say, oh, let us cheat then? How could you possibly be consistent if you don't call penalties just because it's the last 10 minutes of a third period?
Exactly.
You can be consistently bad at being consistent by consistently not calling penalties in the last 10 minutes of a third period. But that doesn't mean you're consistent. It means you're just changing the rules of the game on the spot. It's stupid.
Yeah, and it means you're wrong.
So then I jumped on your saying let the players play because some people equate that with put the whistles away. And that's not what that, right?
I was not big fella in that scenario, right? Or whatever you called the guy. Hold on, big fella. Just like we were saying about temperatures of games and stuff, there is something about the last 10 minutes of a game. There's a different level, and that's where the communication, you can up your communication, say, boys, look, come on. I know it's exciting. Let's try here. And you're going to be those ones that are 50-50, they're getting close to the hands. You don't necessarily just go, that's near the head. There is something about the end of the game it's different, but you don't change the rules. Is what I'm saying. It just becomes harder on the referee, and there is something else that there is a bit of a heightened temperature that you have to understand and appreciate. But it's not the same as saying, do you really want a trip called or a cross check called in the final 10 minutes? Yeah, I don't want cross checks anytime, right? So it's no good. But there, so I hope this is coming across. I don't know if it is, but I hope it's coming across that there's everything there's a lot of context, loads of considerations and circumstances all the time to consider and to balance within clearly defined rules. That's the bottom line.
I just thought of something we talked about during the bubble playoffs and officiating, and how you talked about, you wondered how it would be for the officials because they don't have the crowd jeering at them and booing them and things. Are they going to feel that pressure? And lo and behold, teams are starting to let crowds in, and all of a sudden we have an officiating controversy. Like, I wonder maybe if that did come into play. Well, and then you had the next Wayne Simmons for Toronto got tripped up behind the net, and there was no call. It was late in the third period. And the best part was everyone's going, oh, I bet Tavares would have loved to have that call in the last 10 minutes. 10 minutes, right? Simmons. But Simmons went to complain to the ref, and the ref immediately covered his mic and talked to him. It's so funny that happened the very next night, right?
Oh no, man! They're getting sensitive. They're getting scared now to just do their job. I mean, you got to let them do their thing. I'll tell you what. That Hayes on the Overdrive guys. I don't even know his name. It's so funny. He got noodles. I only figured out it was Jamie McCann. What's the goalie? Calgary. What's that?
McClellan.
Yeah, McClellan. I only knew it was him like recently. Like I was like, oh, it's Jimmy McClellan. Okay. And then O-Dog, of course, and then Hayes. But anyway, Hayes, he's made a comment about, what if we had a coach saying, hey, you owe us one on a hot mic. And I thought, well, there's a good point, right? Because it is true. Like people say that stuff, and then we go jump on it and say, oh, look at that. They're violating the integrity of the game. Everybody knows, but he was caught on a hot mic because people expect that stuff. They expect makeup, and they do that. So I'm saying this now on focusing on the Tim Peel specifically and how they reacted, and how I'm just totally not down with it at all. How they, fired him, whatever it seems they've done with him. I think that's unclear too. And how quick it was, as you said. I don't like this idea of, again, this is almost my thing where it's like late in the game, he's 1,400 games, whatever, he's a month from retiring. And people were saying that as a thing like, oh, well, so it's okay to let him go because he was already done anyway. He was going to retire in a month anyway. I was almost like the opposite way. Like, what? Then that's a reason to like just kind of more look at this one and go, oh, that one's close to the hands, and and then just obviously let him go. Like that is a thing where I would not call it. And he's got a dishonorable discharge now or something because of this, and he's right at the end of his career, and it's this asterisk and all this stuff. Like what this is horrible.
Somebody tweeted, I wish I could give them credit. I feel bad now that I can't remember. It tweeted out after he was let go, like, isn't this like the biggest makeup call of all time? Letting Tim Peel go for makeup calls?
Wait, how is it a makeup? Make it up for what?
For making up for all the problems with the official. You just make up a call on Tim Peel, send him on his way.
I see. Yeah,
everyone's
problem solved. I mean, the whole. So I don't know. I obviously don't approve of anything that I've heard so far from this whole thing. Like what it sounds like, how they dealt with the thing. Like, did the NHL get it right? People say, was the NHL hurt by this? Yeah, I think so. I think they're hurt by how they reacted. I mean, I think it was just we don't even know what he said, as we said, right? So again, getting more specifically into the Tim Peel one, I don't even know what happened on that one. But as far as the broader issue, I think we've laid it out. I think I've laid it out. Good God, it was quite jumbled, but too bad we couldn't pull some better editing.
There's so many things you got to worry about with your language, not to get back into it. But like I said, when you say, let the players play, some people will interpret it that as, yeah, you got to put the whistles away and only call the obvious penalties, but that's not what you mean. Right. So there's all kinds of interpretations that people will run with if you're not clear. So it's really almost hard to dive deep into this issue. It's such a deep issue. And like we said, there's so many contexts and different temperatures and feels of each game that have to come into play. And that's why, another broader picture is like getting away from the reviews for objective things like goaltender interference. It has to be things like offside. Was the puck over the line or not? Goals. Was the puck over the line or not? Those are things you can go to review. And even though I think we take too long and are a little bit too by the camera, at least you could say you're looking for some specific thing. But something like a goaltender interference call, you have the officials make the call on the ice, and then they talk it over, and then they make their call again, and then a coach challenges because he looked at it and decides, I'm going to make my call. And then it goes to Toronto, and you got 5 other people looking at it, and then they make their call. So that's not just reviewed the one time under review. It's reviewed by like five different times by multiple people on an opinion. There's no rule, right? So that's what we're trying to do with these. That's what officials have to deal with all the time. And we're trying to make it concise and clear for them and that's what the rule book is for. But it's really a difficult job, and I think we should let the officials do it to the best of their ability and leave it at that. As long as we're on the same page and clear about what their goal is, and I don't even think they're clear on that.
Big time. I have to just jump one little one on that thing with as a referee, if they go to Toronto and all that, I'm not down with that. I think if they do challenge, then the referee can look at the thing just to have a bit more information, but he has to still apply his own judgment, right? So it is okay to maybe give him some more information and go, oh, really? I didn't see that. Okay, I got it. But let him do it. Don't make a whole thing out of it in this thing as if you can get objectivity in that way. No, there's not. There's objectivity doesn't mean there's nothing intrinsic about objectivity, that there's something that's that clear. Objectivity means you have objective principles, but the application of any principle, as I said, in life, in hockey, anything, is always contextual, right? And that's still nonetheless objective, people. But anyway, so let's move on. What do you think about it? You want to tie that one up? Good God. Maybe we'll think of something later, but I guess we're not going to go too deep into all the big stuff, but you did mention something about Eric Staal trade. You had a little comment on that, didn't you?
Yeah, I mean, I just laughed so hard because, I mean, it's Eric Staal for what, a third and a fifth or something like that? What is it, a second and a fifth, third and a fifth?
Third and a fifth, I think. Yeah,
right. I mean,
maybe
I understand that third round players and even fifth round players. When you look at who performs well, I mean, you have just as good a shot with a third rounder as you do a first or second, in my opinion, as far as how they're gonna play out. Whatever, it doesn't even matter. What matters to me is Buffalo retained a lot of cap there to get rid of him, which was hilarious. But my favorite part was Staal had to waive. Montreal was on his 10-team list of no trade. That was his no trade list, so we had to waive the trade clause to go there. And I'm thinking, if you're in Buffalo, do you really at this point have a no trade list? Is there any other franchise that you think, wow, I would rather not be there? I'd rather be in Buffalo than there. There's such thing as a no trade list for anybody in Buffalo right now.
Right. They're all waiving. It's all waived is what you're saying. That's what I thought as soon as you meant it. I didn't know that. But then when you said it was on his 10 teams, I was like, it doesn't matter. That's void. Yeah. Any ticket out of here. And that is, I mean, it's too bad. Everybody is pooping on the Sabres. It's too easy. But I mean, it is worth commenting on. This is like, I can't believe that what they're doing. I don't understand. They're not on paper. I heard people say it, and this is really true. I mean, Edmonton and Toronto and Buffalo were kind of in similar places. They kind of picking up looking good in a certain way. And Edmonton and Toronto are in different places than Buffalo is in. And they shouldn't be. I mean, I would have, before the season, I was looking at it going, looks pretty decent, right? I mean,
what's going on there? I just put it out on my Twitter going, take that roster in Buffalo and put it in the environment of any other franchise. I mean, we just talked to Matt Hill about the environment, the culture of Tampa, right? If you take those players and put them in any other culture, aren't they automatically a better team?
Yes.
Right away?
So like the question they have to...
No difference. You're not just adding those players to someone else's roster. I mean, take that roster, slam a different uniform on them, put them in a different city, in a different building.
Yeah.
And instantly they're upgraded already, I feel.
No, that's exactly what occurred to me. As soon as you started talking, I was like, you changed the culture somewhere. They need a change in culture. The question for them is, how do they change their culture? Is it by bringing in a Babs, as people are suggesting, bringing a Babcock and do that? Is it a different GM? But you need something to really fire that thing up. It's the same roster. I have no problem with it. It's not like, they didn't build properly. They've got the tools. I don't understand how it's going and how you can be in that big a rut. It must be the most frustrating thing ever, though. I don't think I have much more say on it than people have been saying. So unless you...
It's one thing to have your rebuild just stay the same, but they just keep getting worse somehow.
Yeah, right.
They add pieces and then they go bad. And so now Taylor Hall, they're like, we want a first round pick for Taylor Hall. And it's like, he's got 2 goals. Like, I mean... Take Taylor Hall out of Buffalo and put him somewhere else. He might do better. Although I'm not a big Taylor Hall fan, as you know.
I know, yeah.
But I'm telling you, like, what kind of cards do they have on the table to even try and rebuild through getting rid of some of these guys? They got rid of Eric Staal, and they had to retain his contract. So what are they going to do with a Taylor Hall or a Skinner? These big deals, right?
I don't know.
Nuts.
I don't know. Yeah, it's certainly not a problem I wish to have, right? I mean, like I just feel bad for them. What can you do? I feel bad for everybody involved, and even feel bad for hockey. Like, you shouldn't have that franchise be that bad with that, having got all those players. Like, you got Jack Eichel in there, one of the superstars, potential superstars of the league, and he's just being wasted there. And this is not good for the product. It's not good for us as fans. It's not good for anybody. And it's just sad.
Expansion draft, put that away, move the Buffalo Sabres to the Seattle Kraken, that whole roster, and let Buffalo start over.
Wow.
That's my
restart as the Kraken. Is that it?
Yeah.
Wow. It's radical. And I had never heard it. Okay. Well, there you go, folks. You get the hottest takes here. I would put this one out to people. Who has an idea about what the Buffalo Sabres need? I'm sure everybody does, but I can't see it right now. I'll get on board with the Kraken idea. How about that? Okay. What about this then? A quick one on Crosby 1300. We just had his 1000th game. We went on and everybody was pumping his tires, as they say, and gushing on him. But 1300, quick shout out to Sid, East Coast Lifestyle. 1300 points. Give me a break. The one thing that occurred to me on this is when they compared him to like Ovi and Thornton, who are active players who also have over 1300. He did it in 160 fewer games than Ovi. I didn't know that. Like Ovi is goal scoring on some other crazy level. And this occurred to me just because they've been compared the whole time going up, and they're these two monster, all-time greats, like top 10 type people, right? You know what I'm talking about? Like Crosby, top 5, and Ovi, maybe that top 10 people. Like, this is what they are. But you go on that level, and it's like, oh, that's a pretty big case. I mean, 160 point difference. Pretty big.
People talk about Ovechkin, and they're like, "Ooh, if he hadn't missed those couple lockout years and those couple suspensions for missing the All-Star game, if you start to add all those games up and his goals per game average and all that, you're getting into like he should have 100 more goals or something than he was." Someone did the math recently.
Yep.
And I'm thinking, well, imagine if the NHL took concussions seriously and Crosby played even half of those 160 games, where they would. It's just one of those what ifs of NHL history that you'd be like, imagine if Lemieux was healthy the whole time and he actually played 1,000 games. Where there's all these what ifs. So you look at Ovechkin and his goal scoring record. When you look at them head to head, it's always that category, games played. It's so sickening to see the games played of Crosby being down there and what he's been able to accomplish in that short of time.
And that's what I'm saying. But this is very clear, regardless of how much he missed or whatever. This is very clear. This is in the same number of games. They got this many points. It's like points per game is what I'm saying, right? Points per game. It's crazy. Now, goals per game, Ovi's crazy. So that's a whole other kind of beast and whole other kind of player. And it's really not worth comparing them in that way as, just like goalies and, et cetera. So, but I'm just saying on top of that, that's just some kind of context or perspective just to compare, put him up against Ovi's who scores, not just goals, but points. I mean, this guy. So.
Ovi scores, but Crosby, it's not like he's just getting by. He had a lot of points, and now he's on the tail end of his career trying to chip away 15, 20. He's tied. What is he tied for first in assists in his division? 24 assists or something so far? And that's just assist. Like something like that, I think. Like he's not just getting by. He's still an elite player leading the way at this point in his career.
He's top 10 in the league in scoring right now.
Yeah. Just gross.
It's unbelievable. And so is Ovi. Ovi's now pushing up and nipping at Matthews and McDavid for the Rocket again. I mean, so it's like he's still elite too. I mean, good God, these guys. Another quick one on that though, which I shared with you that night. I was like, just highlighted it for you that on this was Wayne Gretzky. They showed a list of the 8 guys ahead of him, and Wayne Gretzky had 1,300 points in 539 games. What is... I don't know. The numbers blow your mind every time when you put Gretzky up there. You just throw him in there as some kind of stat, a perspective stat, and it just makes you laugh.
It's just disgusting. Like you can't even protect. And then people will say, "Oh, the era," and you can't. But he's miles above everyone in his era too. Like just no one's doing that. Yeah, it's disgusting.
Now, speaking of milestones, there's a 1,300 milestone. Sid, way to go. Keep it going. I want him to see, I want like 1,600 is some number I got from some other thing. And I thought that's a good number. And I think he can do it. No problem. And maybe beyond if he plays longer. So the guy takes care of his health and he's smart. Who knows how long he can play? Maybe he could be a Yager and he'll get 2,000 points, but keep going, Sid, man. We love it. So about milestones, though, you mentioned one on Johnny Gaudreau playing his 500th. Oh, that's pretty exciting. Or was it exciting?
Well, it depends who you ask, I guess. If you ask Darryl Sutter, it's not that exciting. What a gong show this guy is. I mean, you talk about changing the culture in Buffalo and sending someone like Babcock in there. You got Darryl Sutter trying to fix Calgary. Mm-hmm. That whole gong show that they've got going on and their identity crisis right now. And, Johnny Gaudreau, your top player, whatever, your superstar, and he's playing in his 500th game, and you got a reporter asking your head coach, what do you think about him playing his 500th game, and what does it mean, and how has his career been so far, and what are you looking for from the future? Something like that, the question. And I only saw it in writing at first, the quote, and I thought, oh, that was kind of funny, really. But when I saw the clip of him saying it, he literally, you heard what I said about the question. I don't know if I need to repeat it. How's it going so far? What do you expect? And he just said, wow, 500 games is great. I hope he in his 500th game, he has a little more energy than he had in his 499th game. And then you're waiting for the smile, and he's just.
You're not getting it from Darryl, are you?
And it's like, the reporter was stunned, didn't know what to do. The whole press conference just shut down for seconds. And
if you're on audio, folks, that's a pretty good impression. Get on the video. That's a pretty good impression there, Josh.
What is going through? Like, that was the moment you could maybe build a player up just a little bit to, there's a time. These guys are professional athletes. They need to hear the truth sometimes. If he didn't have a great 499th game, great. Have a chat with him quietly. Or maybe when you're asked a different question. But right now, in that moment, when you had the opportunity to speak well of someone on your team and maybe build the locker room up a touch, you're just going to... No, boom, 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 right? And this is that old school mentality. You talk about bringing a guy like Babcock into Buffalo. Would they respond to that? Are these guys, do they have a place in the game for that kind of treatment anymore? And I know people are going to say, these guys need to take it soft, and that's the problem in Calgary. They're too soft, blah, blah, blah. But you got to pick your moments. This just did not seem like a good moment to have that sort of conversation. A cheap shot in public to me.
A cheap shot in public. Yeah, it doesn't sound very healthy, like a healthy locker room or something. I don't know, to me, on my first impression of it. But I get what Darryl's doing in a way. Like, I can see he's thinking, well, I'm trying to win games. I'm trying to get into the playoffs. That's where I'm at right now. And I'm just doing that. And he wasn't thinking of the bigger context. And then I don't know if he would take it back, but I guess people have to do whatever they think they got to do. Take a big measures to try to pump a guy up. So maybe something else isn't working. And then he thought that, but on the face of it, I don't approve. I mean, I just think that it doesn't sound healthy, in that you can imagine someone like Mike Sullivan. He makes a nice comment about it. And he would say something about in the context that the reporter was looking for, and step back and have it. This is like separate from what's going on now. You reflect on the 500 game and say, here's who he is, what he's all about. Now you make a comment about that and then say, now I really like to get back to our thing. And I really hope we get some energy going and starting from 501 and something positive maybe. And then again, as you say, have a private conversation. I mean, but that's just not what Darryl is. So I don't know. You get these guys, it's entertaining.
You're trying to improve morale in Calgary. You're trying to sort of spark the guys. You're not, I mean, they were already getting that. Yeah, from everyone else. I don't know.
Anyway, in any case, Johnny Hockey's at 500. I didn't know that. It's amazing. These young guys, they pop up and they're up at 500 games and they're up at whatever. So, because they get in the league now, like the good ones, they're in as teenagers. You can build up some games all of a sudden. So, all right, Josh. Well, I guess that's it for us today. What do you think?
I think we covered quite a bit.
I think we did a bit. It's really great getting out here, everybody. You know, as always, let us know what you think. Let us know what you'd like us to talk about on here, because you know, we hear stories come up and we have ideas, but you know, we're not just doing this for ourselves. We hope you enjoy what's happening here. So you know, it really helps with your input. We can make it a lot more fun for everybody. So we'll I guess that's it. We'll talk to you next time. I had the worst show ever. I just had like the worst show ever, I think. I was just like, you know, you talk about referees have bad games, and that, because that's what you're saying, and players do. It's just not your day. Holy crap.
Okay, hello?
Oh, sorry. I kept saying sorry, J-Bo, but I had my thing on mute.
There you go.
That's not a hot mic.
That is a Josh Boulton goal.